Good evening, SportsZonians. How's everybody doing out there tonight? I am Mike Aguiloro. I am your host. This is Sports Zone, coming in live like we do each and every week here via the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Radio Network. We got a good show for you tonight. We'll be joined by Erich and Dave Hastings in a matter of moments. And we got a lot to talk about tonight. Got some baseball to talk about. Probably wanted to talk some NBA, maybe a little football tonight as well. We might even talk a little Kentucky Derby this week, which is not something we normally talk about, but obviously you got a big story coming out of that Kentucky Derby. So we'll probably get into that with Erich when he comes in. And I want to talk some Game of Thrones, maybe a little Avengers Endgame, as Avengers Endgame has passed $2 billion in global box office in barely 11 days since its release. It has already passed Titanic for the second highest grossing movie of all time. It is merely $600 million away from passing Avatar as the highest grossing movie of all time before adjusted inflation, which is amazing when you think about it. The fact that I remember when Avatar came out. Avatar and Titanic both were movies that never really had the record-setting weekend, but they just kept picking up steam the longer they were out. And Avatar, of course, was helped by the fact that it was one of the first 3D movies that came out. So obviously, it was a higher ticket price. So it had all those things going for it. And Avengers really is just the culmination of a 22 movie saga, which has been going on for 11 years. So that's just impressive to think about right there. And I'm very happy that it passed Titanic, because anybody who knows me knows that I was not the biggest fan. I mean, you can't deny what Titanic was as a movie in terms of cinematic achievement. I just remember getting very sick of how many times they played that movie over and over and over between NBC and HBO when I was in high school. I had a couple rants about that one when I was younger. So that's just funny to me that Avengers Endgame is the one that passed itself. So like I said, we got a lot to talk about tonight, and everybody should be coming on in a few minutes here. So before that, I'm actually going to start off with the Kentucky Derby, because I don't normally care at all about horse racing. Horse racing doesn't mean a damn thing. It doesn't. Everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, but there's a segment of people out there who really get invested in horse racing, and I have never been one of those people. I see my cousin David in the chat room saying the race was fixed. David's good at the conspiracy theory and things like that. No, the race wasn't fixed. My initial reaction when seeing that race was, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. Because to me, it just originally looked like the horse moved out of its lane. And I know the official reason that was released by the stewards was that the horse moved out of its lane, causing all 17 horses or whatever that was near it to be bothered, I think was the exact words. So they all got flustered because the horse moved, and so the horse got disqualified for it. And to me, it gave brand new meaning to the phrase "stay in your lane," made so famous by LeVar Ball not even a year ago. But here's the thing: I know nothing about horse racing. I know absolutely nothing about horse racing. So I can look at that and be like, wow, this is really something you get disqualified for. You tell me this has never happened before in a Kentucky Derby, that a horse never moved like this, and this horse is getting disqualified for something that from what I can tell, probably happens all the time, the way the horse moves. Because you're telling me in a race like that, a horse is just going to stay completely straight in its line. So again, I know nothing about horse racing, so I can't pretend to talk about something I don't know about. I don't think it's a big secret that I listen to Mike Francesa. Francesa is a staunch horse racing guy. He talks all the time about how he owns races. I think he actually had a horse that he owned a piece of in the Kentucky Derby. And I'm listening to Francesa today, and Francesa was pretty adamant, no, the stewards made the right call, because it's not just a simple case of the horse moved out of its lane. The horse did actually make slight contact with the horse who was second to him at one point. When he moved to his right, he kind of brushed up against the number one horse. And when the horse shifted back to its left, the one, I think Cold War, I think was the name of the horse, who had actually, as a result of maximum security shifting to its right, it had actually pulled forward and was in the lead momentarily. And when maximum security had shifted back to its left, Cold War kind of saw, the jockey saw what was going on, and he had to pull up on his horse. Otherwise, there might have been a very big collision. And you can actually see, if you go back to that race, when maximum security first moves to its right, the number one horse does kind of look like he was almost about to go home. He really does. Like, I didn't see it at first, but after Francesa had pointed it out, I went back to the race, and the way maximum security moved did cause the number one horse to almost go down. So you're not just talking about something as simple as, oh, the horse moved and the other horses were bothered. No, apparently he could have caused a pretty big collision where like 5-6 horses would have literally fell over. And the truth is, at that speed, it could have been pretty bad, truthfully. So I'm a little more inclined to side with the judges at this point, and apparently this is not an isolated incident. This is something that, obviously we've never heard of it happening at a Kentucky Derby or any of the Triple Crown races. But apparently, according to Francesa at least, and I don't think he's the only one who has said this is actually pretty common for horses to get disqualified for this type of thing at other horse racing events. So again, as a casual observer, I initially thought it was kind of ridiculous for this to be a type of thing that not only gets you disqualified but something that you're really telling me in all the years of Kentucky Derby this has never happened before. But again, that's a layman's opinion who doesn't know anything about the sport. And I think it's easy to comment on something that you don't know anything about, but plenty of people comment on things they don't know about. And in retrospect, wind up sounding like an idiot to people who actually know about the sport or know about a certain topic. All you have to do is go online, and the internet is filled with those type of people. So I'm gonna try not to be like one of those people. Anyway, with that, it is fitting that he is here right now, because I would like to get his opinion on this thing, because he is actually the one who brought it up to me in the first place. Erich Tressler is here tonight. Erich Tressler, how you doing tonight, brother?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. So I was talking a little bit about the Kentucky Derby, because you had brought it up to me on Saturday. I think I had gotten out of work in the afternoon, and I was actually catching a little mid-afternoon nap, and I wake up and I see your text. So the next day I watched the race, and I sent you the text saying that I thought it was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But as I've just spent the last 5 minutes saying, I say that being someone who doesn't care about horse racing, doesn't watch horse racing, doesn't know anything about horse racing. And I listened to Francesa earlier today, someone who does know about horse racing, and he made it sound like this was actually a legitimate call and something that happens all the time, just not at a big Triple Crown event. So when you saw this originally, what was your initial reaction to this?
My initial reaction was it was horseshit because I'll
Yeah.
be honest, it just looked that way. I mean, but when you go back and you look at replay, and I will tell you, this is where 20 years ago this call never would have been made. It's only because of replay.
Yes.
Replay is now influencing it, like literally changing history. And that to me is the craziest part about it, is because it might just be too much replay at this time. I do agree that the horse impeded, the other riders. I do believe that there was 2 to 3 horses affected by the move. I did hear Francesca talk a little bit. I do see what he sees when he says the horse went from the 2 to the 5 slot. I get it, looking at it, but I have to look at it in slow-mo. And if I have to slow down a live-action sport to call a penalty or a foul, that's not what replay was intended for.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. Actually, I think that's exactly.
Can you? No. Here's why I say that. In the NFL, can you challenge a penalty?
I mean,
in any sport, can you challenge a referee's call? No, you can't. In any sport.
You already know my opinion on that one because we've talked about it before. I think you should be able to challenge a referee's penalty on that. So you know my opinion on that one. But I get your point.
Too much replay. That's not what I watch sports for. I don't need it stopped every 5 minutes so they can call to some booth to figure out what they should have watched and seen on the field anyway. Call it the way you see it. I'm over the replay. I agree that it was the right call, but this call never would have been made years ago. And for that reason, I can't stand behind it. I just can't. And I'll be honest. I think who it helped more than anything was the books, because not many people had that 65-1 shot. So maybe a handful of people got paid off on that. A shit ton more people bet on maximum security to win. Or to win play show, to do anything but disqualify.
Well, here's the thing.
So, I mean, listen, that is a big swing in the books from them having to pay out on maximum security to them now collecting on all the people who bet on maximum security. And then all those other horses that got bumped up and everything else, the money that got shifted around. The payday was a lot bigger for the people who had it, but there was such a few number of people who actually had it. That number of people doesn't matter. What matters is they cleaned up on everything else. And I think that, and you may not like where I'm going with this, put on your tinfoil hats, but that may came into play here.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. My cousin David's already with you with the tinfoil hat on. I think he keeps his tinfoil hat right under his bed so he can pull it out when it's convenient, because he's already been there. But anyway, okay. So my cousin David has no proof of this, but he's saying in the chat room that the ref who made the call bet on the horse that run, mark it down. We'll know in 20 years on the coffee table, which I think is totally off base. But no, here's the thing. So you say replay is responsible. And I get you on that one, but here's the thing. What I think most people have a problem with is that the side that actually lodged the complaint, because you might have heard Francesca said this, I guess the stewards knew what was going on, but they weren't going to say anything unless there was a formal complaint, and the complaint came from the number 20 horse, who wound up being the one who was declared the winner here. And he was the horse who wasn't affected by this at all. And I think
he was, though. He was. There was a little bit of impediment.
But here's the thing. He wasn't the one directly affected. The 2 horses that were affected directly by it was the number 1 horse and the one who was on the inside when it happened. I think Call of War was his name, because the number 1 horse was right behind maximum security when he first shifted. Almost actually got taken out. Because if you go back and you look at the replay, when maximum security shifts to his right, the number 1 horse actually almost bites it right on the racetrack. And then when the horse shifts back to his left, the Call of War jockey pulls up on him so he doesn't bite it either. So those were the two that were most affected by it. Country House was all the way on the outside. He was the least affected by
Again, sometimes, if you're going to – they chose to win that way.
it. Yeah,
I mean, honestly, that's not the way I would have chose to win, but it was a foul. It is something that if you're going to call it all the time in every other race, you probably should call it here. But what I think you should do is you call it on the track. You don't wait and do replay and everything else. I think it needs to be called then and there.
I can agree with you.
I'm out on the replay. A replay. This isn't a photo finish where I think replay matters. Photo finishes matter. You can you slow it down to slow-mo, whatever. That's what it's meant for. It is not meant for fouls.
I can agree with that.
That's what hurts in this situation because, like I said, I wonder if this other horse wasn't a 65-1 and it was, say, a 7-1 or a 9-1 if this happens.
Well, I don't really think that had too much to do with it, but I get your point that it shouldn't have been a reactionary call. It should have been, if you saw it happen, you should have called it on the spot rather than waiting for someone to file a complaint. I can agree with you on that one. It's very knee-jerk. It's very reactionary. And, yeah, I definitely think that's a fair point on that one. So, all right. I think we can move on from that one. Do you have anything that stuck out to you this week you'd like to bring up here?
I mean, while Dave's not here, we can talk a little baseball. We got Yankees rolling. We got the Mets flopping. We got,
Well, I'll say
combination of things.
Yeah, I'll say this about you guys. I don't know if you guys are getting any closer to having any players back. I know Paxton went down for you this weekend, but you gotta like the way you guys are stepping up for you, whether it's Maven, whether it's Strada, Ursala, I think is the third baseman's name, Gio Ursala. Is that how you pronounce it?
Gio Urshela.
There you go. He's played well for you, and I think he's been playing third base. And Andujar's back. He's been DHing for you. You guys have hung on pretty well, I think. You guys are doing very good with what you have. And
we got Frazier back, too.
Okay. I did not know you had Frazier back. German is like 6-1 now, according to my cousins. So you guys are doing good. And the Mets, I mean, I tell you this, man. You kind of called this one a little bit. I hope it's not something that's going to continue. But, man, when the Mets bats go cold, they go ice cold, man. I don't care what year it is. Francesco was running down the stats for the Mets over everybody's last 48 at-bats. Everybody is just going straight in the tank right now, from Conforto to Nimmo to Cano. McNeil is like the only one who's hitting right now. And then you got the pitching. DeGrom and Syndergaard look better their last turn in the rotation, but it's like when your starting pitching goes, if that's all you're banking your rotation on, and you got no depth in the starting rotation in the minors, that's all you got right there. You got serious problems because we know bullpens around the league have been struggling right now. Of course, the Mets seem to be leading the way in that one, like always. So it's crazy right now.
It is crazy. I mean, that's. Like you said, I kind of called it. If they go cold, they go cold. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't hear you mention Alonso. How's he been doing? I know McNeil, you said, is the only one hitting. I thought Alonso was still hitting for you guys.
I mean, he's not doing bad, but I think he kind of knew at some point that I didn't bring him up because I don't think he's doing terrible, all things considered. But, I mean, he's a rookie. You know he's going to go through hot streaks and cold streaks. That's just the way it is. I mean, he had such a blistering start to the season that it's like he's the last guy in the lineup I can really get on right now. I can more get on them for continuing to play Todd Frazier when you knew what you were getting with him. You knew you were getting a guy with a decent amount of power, but he's going to hit 200. I think he's hitting like $150 since he came back, maybe. He's got a couple home runs. But the fact that you're still trotting him out every day, and you got McNeil, who doesn't have a spot in the lineup, You're hoping to get Jed Lowry back soon. And it's just you can't continue to play Frazier every day. McNeil has to be in that lineup every day, not Frazier. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, why do you think that they're holding McNeil back then? Well, why keep Frazier? Is it just because they're paying him more? Is that why they keep trotting him out there?
I think that's part of it, but I don't necessarily think that they're holding McNeil out. I mean, you know what they're trying to do with McNeil. They're basically trying to turn him into a Swiss Army knife player because he has gotten play in left field. I think they got to play him a little more at second base to give Cano a little bit more of a blow because, especially since he he hasn't been off to the best start anyway. But I guess since he got hit in the hand a couple weeks ago, his batting average is really kind of cratered, and I think he's like 1 for 16 or something since he got hit in the hand. So I don't know. I do think they're playing Frazier every day simply because of the contract, where, in my opinion, at some point, they've done it before, you got to be willing to cut bait with the guy. He's not even making like $15, $16 million this year. He's making like $10 million this year. Just cut bait already. Yeah.
The other thing I did want to bring up to you was to switch off of baseball was believe it or not, tonight's a big night in the NHL for the Rangers.
Oh, is tonight the draft?
No, tonight is the night that if the Dallas Stars win Game 7 and make it to the conference finals, the Rangers get another number 1 pick this year. Or another first round draft pick, I should say, this year.
Oh, okay.
Dallas. They get Dallas' first round pick.
If you may.
I believe it was a Zuccarello trade.
Oh, okay. All right. I vaguely remember them trading Zuccarello. What was that, at the deadline this year, right?
Yeah. Okay. And in return, they gave him up, I think, for a second-round pick. But if they made it to the conference finals, that second-round pick turned into a first-round pick.
Oh, okay. And as it stands,
it's Game 7 right now, 1-1 with the Blues in the second period. Just saying, some exciting hockey going on. I know we don't talk a lot about it because we're not as knowledgeable on it, but the NHL playoffs have been phenomenal.
Well, the one thing I'd like to say, ask you, because I don't know where this series is at right now, but what happened to the Islanders? Because it looked like they
got beat. They got swept out by Carolina.
Now, this is one of those cases where it's the old adage: would you rather have the momentum, or would you rather have the week off between playoff series?
I'd rather have the momentum myself.
Yeah, because it seems to me that's kind of what did the Islanders in, because they sweep the Penguins, they're riding high and everything, and then they got to wait a week for the winner of that series. And they lost to the Hurricanes, right?
Yeah, and now it's going to be the Canes versus the Bruins.
Who you got?
In my way too early prediction, I'm going to say. I can't go against Boston right now. The whole city's too hot. They're winning a lot of titles right now, so I'm gonna go with Boston.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. And maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong right here. I feel like every year, for the most part, I know there's a couple exceptions. I think Washington came out of the Eastern Conference last year, but it always seems like either Boston or Pittsburgh winds up coming out of the Eastern Conference.
In recent seasons, it does seem that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They've been exciting playoffs so far, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Carolina put up a hell of a fight, possibly win. I'd like to maybe even try to get Fife's opinion about it as well and share that, because I think that it's something we should all be at least watching, because it's exciting where most of the NBA series, I'll be honest, could care less about outside of the Golden State and Houston, the hockey, I mean, has been just a lot more exciting to watch, in my opinion. So you got 2 Game 7s out west too to find out who's going to play out west. Like I said, you got Stars and the Blues tonight, and then you got Game 7 between the Sharks and the Avalanche tomorrow. There's been a ton of Game 7s throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs so far, and that trend just seems to be continuing in this round as well. So it should be exciting. But yeah, I'm rooting for the Stars tonight, though. Get the Rangers another first-round pick.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be good because right now the Rangers have the number 2 pick in the draft. The Devils have the number 1 pick in the draft. And from what I've heard about the draft this year, it's kind of like the NBA where you definitely know who the top 2 guys are. And it seems like whereas there might be a little bit of doubt as to what Zion's going to be when he winds up coming to the NBA, it doesn't seem like there's too much of a doubt what these 2 top prospects in the NHL are going to be like. In one way or another, you're getting an impact guy.
Hughes and Taco, right?
I do not know their names. I have no idea.
I believe Hughes is going to go number 1 overall to the Devils, and Taco is going to go number 2 to the Rangers.
Is that really his name, Taco, or is that just an?
I don't think it's Taco. It's like something like that. I think it's like I'll look up the actual spelling of it. But yeah, that's how it's pronounced. I've heard anyway.
Okay. Fair enough. Because when you said that, I was just like, he's pulling my leg. He made that name up. So, and we'll shift to the NBA real quick because last night. So
hang on, Kako. I'm sorry, Kako. It's
Kako.
His first name is Kaapo, and his last name is Kakko.
Huh. Okay.
And he's like the consensus number 2. It's like, fine, if the Devils are taking Hughes, you're taking this guy. Like, they're 1 and 2. They've been competing against each other in the junior leagues and this and that, and they are above and beyond, I think, what a lot of people think the rest of the first round of the draft is. Like, these 2 are definite 1s and 2s. Like you said, a lot like the NBA draft with Zion and probably John Morant, 1 and 2. Yeah. You're going to get the same thing here with these 2.
And we'll talk very briefly about the NBA because Boston jumps out to the big 1-0 lead over the Bucks, and then the Bucks storm back and win the next 3 games. You got the Warriors losing the last 2 games to the Rockets. The Rockets actually tied up that series 2 games apiece. And then tonight you got Toronto kind of destroying Philadelphia right now. They're just coming back into the third quarter, and the Raptors are up 64-43. This is Game 5 tonight. It's 2-2 series tie. And then later on tonight, you got Portland in Denver for, I believe it is Game 5 there. That series is also tied 2-2. So there may not be much drama outside the Warriors, but at least in these specific series, it looks like they're pretty tightly contested, except for, at the moment, the Bucks and Celtics series.
I disagree. I mean, I heard what you said about Boston jumping out to a big 1-0 lead. A 1-0 series lead isn't really a big lead. And
I know what you're saying, but to me, from everything I heard, it looked like listen. I know
Celtics are done. Stick a fork in them. I was hoping they'd be able to recover. They have so much talent on that team that they should come out of the East easy. And unfortunately, they're not right with that locker room right now. As I was, as I heard earlier a little bit, and I have to agree with Alan Hahn when I was listening to him, is that they just their locker room isn't right now, and it's because you have a whole bunch of people in that locker room, like Terry Rozier was like, well, I took them to the conference finals without Irving last year, and Tatum and the rest of these guys are now getting their shots cut back, and they're feeding Kyrie, and Kyrie hasn't been hitting those shots. I think it's growing resentment. I really don't think that locker room is right with KD with Kyrie in there right now, and I think that this is really the writing on the wall for him being gone. Yeah. I don't see any chance of them coming back in this series. I think the Greek Freak takes him out. It was something I didn't think would happen. I thought that the Greek Freak was another year or 2 away, but he's going to get a crack at the conference finals. And I have a feeling that in that other series, I like Kawhi and the Raptors still to come out of that series. So we'll see what happens there. But
well, I mean, if it's the Bucks and Raptors, I'm still sticking with the Bucks. But to kind of go back to my initial point, a lot was made when they took that 1-0 series lead that it looked like, to me at least for a minute, I feel like people were making it look like because they got the 1-0 series lead, they were going to wind up jumping out and possibly taking the series. I, for one, am glad that's not happening. But here's the thing. As you said, And my cousin kind of called this one last year. I think we all knew they weren't going to trade Kyrie and Gordon Hayward after last season. We all knew that one. My cousin was calling for them to trade him. And then we see what's happened here. Maybe in hindsight, it wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world, even though, no one would have wound up taking him and giving Boston what they would have wanted for him. I go back to his conversation that we had about a month ago. Do you really want the Knicks to get Kyrie Irving in here? Because I don't. The guy's not a leader.
I do if they bring in KD.
Hang on. He's not a leader. He might be a great player, but he's never this is the first time in about 3 seasons he's actually healthy for the playoffs. I don't like what he does for a locker room because he doesn't really do that much. The fact that he kind of threw his players under the bus a couple days ago in an interview. You say what you want to bring him in with KD. I don't really see how KD is going to negate the negative with this guy. I just don't.
The same way he bowed to LeBron, he'll end up bowing to KD. KD will end up being the leader of that team. You're missing it, though. I think he just wants out of there. He wants to go somewhere he's going to get paid, and the Knicks are going to pay him.
Yeah, but the problem is he made such a big deal.
I want him. I want talent. He's one of the most talented offensive players in the game. I want him. I want him in a big spot. He can hit big shots. If you're telling me in the offseason I have my choice between, say, a Kyrie or a Kemba, I'm giving my money to Kyrie every time.
Well, here's the thing. He might be one of the most talented players around. Yeah, all right, fine. But to me, the negatives outweigh the positives here. And you say pair him with KD will be right. KD's not a leader either, in my opinion. Obviously, KD's one of the top 3 most talented players in the league, so I'll take him. But Irving, nah, man, I'm sorry. The negatives don't outweigh the positives to me here. We're going to be on 2 opposite ends here. I'll take Kemba over Kyrie every day just because you don't have the negatives with Kemba that you do with Kyrie, and I think you still have the talent level about the same. Kemba's never
He's not as talented.
Wait a minute. He's never had the playoff exposure that Kyrie does, but I think the talent at the very least is very similar there. And I think Kemba's more of a team player than Kyrie is too. And I would like to see the Knicks. You need your stars in this league, but I'd like to see some team chemistry with the Knicks. Because what are we talking?
Basketball is all about. Basketball isn't about team chemistry though. Basketball is about the stars. Why do you think the Warriors are the Warriors? Because they have an all-star roster starting 5 in every game.
But you're telling me team chemistry isn't important before KD came in?
I'm telling you, you take James Harden off of the Rockets, and they're a 30-win team.
I'm fine, but there's still team chemistry there. Why do you think Melo didn't fit in? It's about the team chemistry. Those guys know how to play together. With the Warriors, you got stars all over the place there. But before KD came over, it was a homegrown lineup. Homegrown. Curry.
Of stars.
Stars. But they all grew up together, basically. They have their team chemistry. And then you brought in Iguodala, who knows how to play with the team. Yeah, it's about stars, but chemistry plays a role there. You're not going to say it doesn't. You can't say it.
I'm going to tell you it does. I'm going to tell you it plays a role to a certain extent, but it doesn't play enough of a role where you're not going to take a guy with a ton of talent. You are going to take talent first and then hopefully mold him into something that will fit in your locker room or fit with your team. You are going to take talent in the NBA. Talent's what wins. Talent's what drives. Talent's what fills the seats. That's what they want in New York, too. Don't forget that. They want to fill the seats. They want marquee guys, and I guarantee you Kyrie's a bigger draw than Kemba is.
And I'm not disputing the power of the star power, but you still need chemistry on the roster there.
You brought up Melo before. Melo's not even a star anymore. So, I mean, he's a faded star. He's a white dwarf somewhere. He's not even, he's not even around. Nobody wanted Melo at this
Wait a minute. Here's the thing. You and I know he's not a star. Melo don't realize he's not a star anymore. That's why he didn't fit in with the Rockets' chemistry. That's why they threw him out. You say nobody wanted him? No, Chris Paul wanted his buddy until he realized that his buddy wasn't getting with the program.
But I'm telling you that you take either Chris Paul or Harden off of that team, and more Harden than Paul. If you take Paul off that team, They're not even a matchup for Golden State. You have to have stars in this league.
I'm not disputing what happens if you take Harden off the Rockets, but I'm still saying you need the chemistry between those pieces. Those pieces play well with James Harden. James Harden.
Give me one team, though, that doesn't have a star on it right now. Give me one team in the NBA playoffs that doesn't have a bona fide star on their team right now that's doing it off of just team chemistry.
First of all, I didn't say you just need team chemistry. I'm saying team
That's
chemistry.
That's what I'm saying. If you sign Kemba, that's not.
But you look at teams. You look at teams like Portland. You look at teams like Denver. You look at teams like Milwaukee. Yes.
Joker, Damian Lillard.
You have your star.
CJ McCollum.
Wait a minute. You have your star, but you also have team chemistry to go with it. Because you have Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. And you have a collection of complementary pieces that know how to play with each star because they've had all these years and now they're popping. It's the same thing with Denver.
No, once they face Golden State, they're going to get mowed down.
But they're still having success until they get to that point, though.
Until they get to the team that has more stars than they have, and then they get beat. That's what I'm trying to say is your one star in the Joker can take you pretty far. McCollum and Lillard can take you pretty far. They can't take you to the promised land, not without more talent.
Go back to the Warriors. How long have the Warriors been together? How long have the Trailblazers core been together? How long have the Nuggets core been together? Oh yeah,
Lillard and McCollum have been together 3 or 4 years at least.
And
maybe even 5 at this point.
And you're going on about 5-6 years with the Warriors core though. So the point is,
you're going on 3 years with KD. It's only 3 years with KD. So they had their core, but they were young and they grew up. Yeah, they grew up together. I don't see McCollum and Lillard growing up together. They're already talking about Lillard leaving Portland. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Is they're not. Nobody's looking. No other stars are looking to go to Portland.
Lillard doesn't want to leave Portland though. He's made that clear in the past. Lillard wants them to build a team around him. The problem is they had so many bad contracts. That's what the problem is.
Who wants to come play for Portland though? Not many people.
Yeah, but Lillard doesn't seem like a type who's going to bolt Portland. He likes Portland. But anyway, no, you kind of shifted the discussion here. The Warriors had their core before you put KD in. That core has been together for about 6 or 7 years. So the point is, to me, the Trailblazers core, you said, been together about 3 or 4 years. The Nuggets core been together about 2 or 3 years, maybe. The Warriors core has been together twice as long. So obviously, you got your stars, but you also got your team chemistry there. It's not one or the other. They go hand in hand.
Listen, I'll agree with you that you need team chemistry to win a championship, but I'm telling you that if Kyrie is on his game, if he was shooting better, you wouldn't be hearing anything out of Boston. They'd be rolling right now with him behind him. So, the team chemistry would be just fine. It's because they're losing and he's not shooting well that the team chemistry is off right now. It just is. They're not as confident in him right now, and that's what's behind it.
But you're playing a what-if scenario. I agree with you on the what-if, but, that doesn't mean anything at this point. They are losing. Part of the reason is Kyrie's missing his shots, and he's not a freaking team leader. He can't galvanize the rest of the team over there. He's throwing them under the bus in the media. You're seeing what he's
Listen, but again, the bench got outscored, 34-7 or something like that the other night? Something absolutely absurd. They got crushed. Nobody played well. You have bona fide people that are making a lot of money on that Celtics bench that came off the bench and did absolutely nothing.
Wait a minute.
And you're going to blame Kyrie for the losses?
Well, you kind of did it too. You said he's missing his shots, and then you brought the bench up after I agreed with you. What are you doing there?
Listen, he's missing shots, but it shouldn't all be put on Kyrie there. That's what I'm saying. Is the team chemistry isn't just because of Kyrie. It's because of the rest of the team right now, too.
All right.
I think if the whole locker room is off, and if they don't want him and they can't make it work in Boston, I want his talent in New York. You can't sleep on that kind of talent. If you can get him and you can find some way and pray to God and do whatever you got to do to get KD to agree to come, and then you somehow get one of the first 2 picks, you can really start to build something with the Knicks.
Listen, I'll agree with you.
It can happen really fast.
All right. I'll agree with you on Durant. I don't want Kyrie here. We're going to have to agree to disagree on that one. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, we got about 8 minutes left here. I want to talk about Game of Thrones. But wait, because as I'm watching Game of Thrones, I know without knowing what your reaction to the episode is going to be. If anybody's heard the last few weeks, you were disappointed by the episode. You didn't like the episode. Not enough action for you. Am I on the right path here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and the Battle of Winterfell was just dark.
Well, here's the thing. I
didn't see enough crap for the amount of money they spent on it. It wasn't worth it.
Here's the thing. I actually went back and I watched the Battle of Winterfell. And I actually watched it on a laptop rather than on a big screen TV. And it wasn't quite as dark. I actually liked it a little better. But here's the thing. I was disappointed by this week's episode. I thought there was some great moments. And did you get your free Starbucks? Did you get your free cup of Starbucks?
No, I didn't. I didn't even notice it. I'll be honest. In the frame as I was watching it, wasn't something I caught.
No, I didn't see. I didn't see it at first, but after the big uproar, I went back, and it was pretty clear there. But apparently, HBO has digitally removed the cup of Starbucks as a result of the outcry, which would have been probably better if you had picked up on it before the outcry. But here's what I was going to say. Rather than just yelling and screaming about the episode, I want to ask you something, because in hindsight, I don't think there was any way that this season was going to be viewed as anything other than a disappointment when you got 2 years of build-up to this final season. Now, in my opinion, what I've seen out of this final season is better than the last season of a show like The Sopranos, which we brought up before. I'll take what we've seen in the last 4 episodes over just about anything that was in that final season of The Sopranos. Well, let me ask you something, and I want an honest reaction. What do you think they could have done this season that would have satisfied you as a fan and not make you feel like this season's been a disappointment through the first 4 episodes, besides being able to see the Battle of Winterfell?
This season's been a disappointment, but the reason it's been a disappointment is because you've had 7 other seasons of build-up that have all been like White Walkers and, dragons and this and that. And in literally 2 episodes now, we're down to 1 dragon, and we saw 1 battle with the White Walkers. You know what I mean?
Well, you did. Well,
7 seasons of build-up for 1 battle isn't worth watching to me. I'm sorry. It's just gotten to that point where it's just, I'm going to continue to watch it because I've watched the rest of the season, and some of it's cool. I mean, listen, I didn't hate this episode, but it was also, I just felt like a lot of unnecessary things again. And spoiler alerts here for people listening. Yes, we got to say that crap now. Mm-hmm. But if you haven't seen it, I don't care. I'm going to talk about it anyway. I just really don't think that Brienne needed to sleep with Jamie. I don't think that storyline was really going anywhere. I think it's kind of just muddied and confused and just something that the writers threw in there because they knew there was something the fans had clamored for a bunch of different seasons. I think it was forced. I don't like it. I mean, I guess that it gave Tormund a reason to go back up north, but again, I don't understand that when they're going down to fight Cersei, why he wouldn't.
Because it's not
John wouldn't ask him to help in that battle. I get it that it's not his fight, but listen, come fight with me anyway. I fought for you in the north. You come fight for me in the south. But, Tormund wants to run away like a little bitchy, red-bearded man. Let him run back to the north with Ghost between his legs. You know what I mean? I'm over it. So there's just certain things that they've done that just don't make any sense, that weren't needed, that weren't. I don't know. I don't think it's. I don't think it's lived up to the hype. I'm hoping the next battle is better. I'm hoping next episode they have the battle. They already had the Battle of Winterfell. Now I guess this is the battle for King's Landing. I'm hoping this battle I enjoy a lot more, can see a lot more, can get into it a lot more. And then the last episode they kind of wrap everything up. Again, I think they've drawn out so many storylines over 7 years to try and wrap them all up neatly in a 2-episode finale here is, it's 5 and 6, and that's it. So you get 2 episodes to figure it all out when you've had 7 seasons of slowly crawling to this point. Now it's just rushed. It feels too rushed. All the storylines feel rushed. It just doesn't feel right, and I'm not a fan. I really think that they could have went another season or 2 and really put a bow on a lot of these storylines, and they're just not doing that.
If I may, I almost feel like you can't win one way or another. You either make it feel too rushed or you make it feel too drawn out. I think it would have been too drawn out if you would have done another couple seasons on it. Because if you think about it, the only real storylines that are left is the battle between Cersei and Daenerys, and who's going to wind up being considered the rightful heir between Daenerys and Jon Snow. I feel like that's all that's really left right now. But the Brienne thing, I want to bring that up because I kind of agree with you that I did not like the fact that her and Jaime wound up hooking up, but I feel like we feel that way for 2 different reasons. I almost felt like there was a brother-sister relationship between Brienne and Jaime built on mutual respect, and I didn't feel like it needed to be turned romantic. I didn't like the fact that it needed to be turned romantic. I would have been fine if it was just kept as a mutual respect thing rather than going the romantic route. That's why I didn't like it. But I also like the show. Listen, we love the action and everything. I like the personal relationships, obviously, a little more than you. I like the dialogue scenes, obviously, a little more than you have. I like these characters that we've seen, and I feel like the show was built as much on the good dialogue as it was on the fight scenes, and that's why I feel like I've gotten a little more out of this season than you have, and don't think it's a straight disappointment, even though I'd be lying if I'd say that through 4 episodes I'm 100% satisfied. So, with that, and I'm going to give you a final thought right here because we got a little less than 2 minutes left here. I want to thank everybody for listening. Erich, Justin, why don't you give us some final thoughts?
Keep watching the NHL playoffs. Keep watching Golden State versus Houston. And in my opinion, it's still the only thing worth watching in the NBA. And go Yankees. Till next week, stay sweaty.
Yeah, stay sweaty. And Tormund is anything but a bitch. You like calling people bitches. Tormund is anything but a bitch. It's a guy who killed a giant.
Run back to the north.
Wait a minute.
Wait
a minute. First of all, someone pet that dog. Someone pet that dog. I'm with people who said, will someone please pet the goats? Guy's standing there with half a freaking ear, and nobody's petting Ghost at all. That's disgraceful. And Tormund is a guy who killed a giant and then suckled at the tit of the giant's wife for 3 months to become a giant. He is anything but a bitch, good sir. So I will say that. Erich, man, always a pleasure, man. I am Mike Aguilera. Thank you, as always, for being with me here. Hopefully we get Dave back next week. Hope he's okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see y'all next week.
Have a good one.
You too, man. Take care.
Bye.
Yep. Later, David.